Hello, everyone, and welcome to the mill. We have our next installment of our Stonemaier Spotlight with Stonemaier Ambassadors. And today we are going to be chatting about Apiary, yay, space bees. And with us, obviously, you can see Molly. And we also have Ian. Ian, would you like to introduce yourself? Let us know where we've seen you before in the Stonemaier community and how you help Stonemaier out.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ian. I'm a teacher. I'm relatively new into the board game hobby as far as modern hobbies. Got into Stonemaier a couple years ago when I found out that solo gaming was a thing, and then I got a couple Stonemaier games. Became a champion last year in January because I knew I was gonna probably get some of the games, and then this January I became an ambassador. I was on a video at the end of June with Jamie on the Stonemaier channel about tile laying games, and I run my own channel called Where There's a Wills, There's a Play. And I've been doing a lot of Rolling Realms content. I've been doing individual realm tutorials that are on the Discord channel, and I post some of them on the Rolling Realms Facebook page. I'm quite active on Discord and the Facebook pages.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today, Ian. It's awesome having you here to talk about Apiary. And yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And we'll link your stuff in the description below. So check it out.
Perfect. Thanks.
Y'all.
Yep. Yeah, definitely go if you're struggling with Rolling Realms as well. Go and check out Ian's channel because he definitely knows how to help you out. All right. But Apiary, Space Bees. When probably this airs, it's going to be really close to when the Apiary expansion comes out that people are probably pretty excited for. So, Ian, kind of our first question. Obviously, you're involved with Rolling Realms as well when it comes to content creation. But when we kind of asked you what other Stonemaier games would you be interested in, what stood out about Apiary that you wanted to talk about with us?
When Apiary came out last year, it was pretty late in the year. It was November. I received it, I believe, just before my Thanksgiving break, which was really nice. I had it on the table all week until we had to clear up the table for Thanksgiving. Actually, I think I had that one on my desk. I got 2 games in around that time. I got a Kickstarter in of another game. And those were the only things I played all week. I played like 5 games of each of them. I don't know. Something just really grabbed me the first time I played this game. I like worker placement. I love resource management, but this one did so much more with that worker placement. A lot of worker placement games, you're putting workers and you're getting resources. You may be buying things, but the fact that you have 6 different locations where you can do this, and it felt almost like each location was like a mini game in itself. Like, okay, I have this where I can get these tiles. I have this where I can get some resources. I have this where I'm converting things. I'm getting my bees back. I'm doing it. It was just something that I had never played before, being so new-ish into the modern board game hobby, and it was just a really fun game, and it's been one of my favorites. It immediately jumped to the top of my new games in 2023. Like, as the first time I played it, I was like, this game is amazing. In fact, when Wormspan came out in January, February, I immediately got Apiary back out after I played Wormspan several times because I'm like, I got to get Apiary back out for a few times. And then this last week, since we were going to do this, I put it back on the table and played 5 more games this week. So just everything about it. It was just a really fun, really clever game.
Oh, yeah, I have not played Apiary that much. I enjoy it quite a bit, but so since you have played it so much, especially recently, I'm going to kind of jump around here with questions. Are there any like certain hive mats or factions of the bees that you've really come to love, or any that you found were particularly interesting?
Yeah, so this last week when I played, I made sure that I played with all 5 hive mats so that I had a little bit of recent familiarity with them. And I really like the log because it allows you to gain extra bees, and it allows you to choose your faction a little differently. So when I played with the log, I had 2 factions. One of them only gave me 2 starting bees. It was Cicero, and it gave me no starting resources. But it did allow me to immediately build 2 of the recruit tiles. So I was like, well, I've got spaces where I can get some resources. I can get some of the I can get some of my bees if I put one of those tiles on there pretty quickly, and I get 2 tiles right away without any resources. So it allowed me to kind of strategize which one of my factions I wanted to start with. And I'm like, well, I'm okay starting with only 2 bees because I've got 4 spots on the log where I can get a bee really quickly. And having those 2 extra recruits allowed me to kind of have some extra abilities on some of the other levels. The Skep is a nice one because it has a lot of resources on it. So that can also help you with your choice of bees in the sea. I've got them all sitting here. So I used Saha with that one. I had Saha with that one, and that one started with 3 resources. And it also, whenever you retrieved, you got to collect extra of the which ones are the farm tiles. So you got to do extra one every time you retrieved. So it allowed me to kind of retrieve a little bit more. I'm like, oh, once I get some farm tiles out there, I can place them, get some resources on my mat instead of having to go search for them and stuff. So that one I really like as well. And then and I like those ones because they are very, and everything is like pretty tight. So there's a lot of places you can put things. And then you get to like the Poppleton, which I don't know, it looks kind of like a guitar to me. It has that really long neck on it. But you have, and let's see, with Poppleton, I played with Iber, and with Iber at the start of my turn. So this one was good. At the start of my turn, I got to retrieve a worker and not collect. So I could get my workers back quite a bit and place them other places if I wanted to. And it gave 3 of the Queen's track very quickly before you kind of moved your way out. So that one was pretty powerful as well, that combination. I had some pretty good combinations. I got pretty lucky with my combinations. And then Langstroth I really like because there's 1 spot for each one of the tile types where you can spend 1 less on it. And on that one, I was able to get Nika, and that gave me 6 starting resources.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it gave 2 fibers, a pollen, and 3 waters. And on that one, you can convert any 3 at any time. So that one was a really powerful combination of being able to play one of each one of the tiles for 1 less resource. Well, and actually one of them, the farm tile, was 1 less fiber and 1 less water. So it was basically a free tile if you had one of those smaller ones. And then the recruit one was 2 less pollen. So that one on most of those tiles was basically a couple of free tiles. And then you have all these resources. So it's like, okay, well, I can basically get some free tiles, and I've got 6 resources. I can convert those into honey. So on that one, I recruited a little quicker to move my bees up to level 4. I think on that one, I jumped up to level 3 on the solo mode because I play this exclusively solo. And the AI had a lot of level 3 bees to start, so I knew that they were going to be jumping up to 4 and hibernating quickly. So that allowed me to kind of maybe get one of those carves in pretty quickly. And then the last one I played was the Where, which has a couple of resource places and a couple of card places. I don't tend to do the seed cards a whole lot. I do everything else, and for some reason that spot seems to be ignored the most for me. So the Where was not my most favorite one because it has 2 spots on there that just give you more seed cards. But I did play differently, and I did kind of start getting some seed cards, and I was able to partner that up with some other tiles and some other things that gave me more seed cards. So it made me play the game a little differently than I normally would. So
yeah, that's a really nice thing. I think when you have something like Apiary and you can have so many different combos, one, it makes it a combo-tastic game in that sense.
Yeah.
So many different ones. But as you said, like, some of those different combos you get at the beginning can steer you in a different direction than maybe you've ever played before. So really kind of makes you think differently. I know the last game I played was 2-player, and it was the first time I had one of those games where it made so much more sense to do retrievals. I had a couple farms, and they were just giving me the plethora of resources I needed versus exploring. So my opponent was doing a lot more exploring than I was, and she was like, "Oh, we don't have a lot of pollen out there," and I'm like, "Well, doesn't matter to me. I can get it if I just retrieve a worker." So yeah, it makes very interesting combos.
What I love about Apiary, you just showed it off very well. You explained 5 different games that were all memorable to you in different ways. This game plays differently every time you play it. Even if you are like biased towards one thing, I tend to want to carve all the time with as much as I can. But like sometimes you just get a mat and a bees in a situation in front of you where like I'm gonna go for something else.
Yeah. And with the where, I had the faction Sime, which at the beginning of the game gave you 3 seed cards. So not only could I gain 2 others, but I had a faction that gave me 3 others. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm gonna try and play with some seed cards and maybe plant them and stuff this game, which I don't normally do. So that was kind of interesting to do something completely different than I normally do.
Yeah, I love that.
So after all those kind of awesome details and going over those hive mats and different factions, clearly you've played it a lot. Do you have either any tips for people who are teaching it, whether it's like ones maybe to start more with or strategies to kind of help people out, or area of the factions? So yeah, teaching for people or other games you think if people like Apiary, they might gravitate toward these games, or if they like these games, maybe they'd like Apiary. So any kind of tips and tricks or matching games you think people should know about?
Yeah, I think the Langstroth, the Log, and the Skep are probably more friendly for new people because the Langstroth does allow you to build those tiles cheaper. The Log gives you extra bees quicker by putting tiles on there, and the Skep gives you those resources when you place the tiles down, whereas Poppleton is more about the Queen's Favor track and just some victory points. And then, like I said, the Where has some Queen Favor track, but it's more about the seed cards. And I think if you want to start at kind of something that's just the more basic of, okay, you're going to do tiles, you can do these tiles much cheaper, or you are going to get a bunch of resources when you can do some tiles. I think those are some easier I think those are probably good beginner mats because they don't. I think the seed cards and the Queen's Favor track are a little higher on the. You got to do a lot of stuff in order to get to them. Whereas those ones, I feel, those other 3 mats that give you all those things are just the more basic. Okay, you got to get tiles, you got to get resources. So I feel like that's a good jumping in point for those types of things. And then just when you do it, kind of. Just look at the board once you have your mat and see, okay, well, what am I going to do? What can I do to make this mat, even better, or use this mat to its fullest?
I think Apiary, when you're learning sorry, Carol. I was just going to say it's one of those games that is good to play twice, because the first time I played it, you can learn the rules, which Carol and I get it a bit early, so there's no videos to watch or anything. We read the rule book. Classic way, but you don't feel the tempo at all till you play through it and it ends on you. So anyone interested in this game who's played it once, I think playing it second time really opened my eyes up to it.
I agree. There's so much going on. You're going and you're
sneaks up on you too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
especially
it can really sneak up to like. Yeah. Like, oh, wait, we're ending? Oh, okay. Even in solo mode is the same way. It's like, oh, okay, I got to get my stuff out there. I got to get my hibernation. I got to hibernate so that I can get those extra points in those hibernation pods, those hibernation combs.
It's great, though. It makes you keep an eye on everyone else, like viticulture. You got to feel the timing of the game.
Yeah.
I like
for
when
sure.
You can see that stop element there, like you said, like viticulture and apiary. It's kind of it gives a different feel to the game when you can see where it kind of builds and you're in control of that stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So Ian, you keep mentioning the solo mode, and
yes.
I kind of told you this in our conversation. I play a decent amount solo. I have struggled with this S pattern. Do you have any tips for me or anyone else who struggles with following that S pattern?
Well, there's two different places that you do the S pattern. One is in the carve, which I think the carve is fairly straightforward. As far as you're starting in either, I think it's the bottom right or the upper left, and you're just going around in a curve, and you're, depending on if there's tiles or not, that you're actually counting the number of tiles, not the number of spaces, to see which tile they take. On the or the explore one, that one I always have to reread every time I get, because some of it's easy. If the mothership's in the middle and it's like, okay, I'm just going like this. It's when it hits that corner, I'm going left and I have to go up. So basically what it is, from my understanding, is if I'm in the top row and I've got to move left and then up to go, so it goes all the way over to the next column and just kind of goes down, and then goes down one more row to continue on. So if I'm in the top middle spot and I have to go 5 spots, I go 1 spot left, and then I'm supposed to go up. Well, there's no place to go, so then I go to the far column, and that's my second one, from my understanding of reading it. And then the second row down is the third one, and then you just kind of continue then to the left. So you've basically kind of looped around, okay, and then you just kind of continue, but you don't go back on the row you started on, is my understanding of it. So, but I do every time they move it, I have to look at it. I'm like, okay, wait, what? Okay.
Yeah, that was definitely the part I struggled with the most in the solo. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can draw an S.
I open up the auto.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I open up the Automa book every time when I'm in that situation where it's like, I can't go any further on this. Where am I supposed to go? And I think the other tricky spot is in the bottom right, where the mothership, the queen ship, starts, because I don't think that's actually a spot. So it's like, oh, we can't end there. So where does it go? So yeah, that definitely does get tricky when you're in those couple spots.
Yeah. My philosophy is always, just do your best. You're playing solo, right?
Yeah.
If you're
exactly.
Nice. All right, I kind of brought this up before, but you had some great tips for like what are good starter factions and starter boards. So are there any games you would associate with Apiary for people who either, or reasons why, if you like this game, you probably like Apiary, or if you like Apiary, maybe you'll like this game, like that kind of thing?
I'm going to say, like, if you like the worker placement stuff where you're going to different places and kind of doing different things, maybe Creature Comforts, because you're doing some base placement, but then you're putting the workers in different places. So it kind of has that thinky element like Apiary does, where you have multiple things going on and you have to do, it's not just placing a worker and getting a resource for it. It's, okay, I'm placing a worker here to get resources, but I'm placing workers here to do this thing. I'm placing workers here to do this thing, and I'm placing workers here to do this thing. So you've got a lot of different places where you're placing your workers. That's a little bit more because you have the dice and you have to match up dice with the workers. But I would say if you like something like that, it is quite a bit lighter than Apiary, I feel. But I kind of like that. If you're looking for something a little bit lighter, more family friendly, maybe, that is one I really enjoy. As far as the other stuff, God, I don't know.
I feel like my gut. Yeah, I just recently taught Euphoria again, and that's the strength of the worker. You can definitely see some of that maybe came through Euphoria as well, because the number on your worker definitely matters for some of those spots, and it's still dice worker placement. So I feel like that's the one that comes to mind for me. You want a dystopian kind of theme with it?
That is one that I've not played. There's a handful that I've not played, and that is one I've not played. But I guess speaking of the worker power, that was another thing that was very unique to me with Apiary, was the movement of the worker power and the bumping.
Yeah.
I love how they did the components for the. Sorry, Carol. I love how they did the components with the worker power too.
Didn't Connie just tell us the worker bumping? There was a lot of inspiration from Charterstone with that.
She did, yeah. We had her in our last video as a Charterstone ambassador?
I watched the first half of that. I did watch the first half of that. So
yeah.
I don't think Charterstone is one I'll ever get to the table because my Stonemaier collection is basically solo. Although I did teach my wife Stacy viticulture on my birthday. I'm like, I just want to teach you this because I would like to play Viticulture World with you as a cooperative game. So, but I kind of walked her through it a bit, and she ended up winning. But she's like, "Did I really win?" I'm like, "Hey, I just gave you thoughts. You did the moves and stuff." So, but yeah, so my Stonemaier collection is kind of my solo collection.
Yeah, no, Viticulture is that's like our couple game. Like that's our comfort food couple game.
Nice.
A good one. But once again, worker placement.
Yes, I love my worker placement.
I mentioned it before, but
do you have any other ideas, Molly?
I was just gonna say, my answer to that, I mentioned it kind of early in the video, but Apiary reminds me of Viticulture. I love how both those games have a climax where you're like, this is the moment, like the end is nigh, and I gotta do the best I can.
And then it's over.
And then it's over, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, a couple more questions here. Ian, any kind of, because obviously you've played quite a bit of it lately, anything that we haven't already talked about that stands out, or anything that you would even critique about it, or kind of any of those kind of final comments of whether it's a really good thing or a slight knock on it, anything kind of final comment do you like?
As a more casual gamer, despite having a very large collection at this point, there's nothing I can knock on. I really, like I said, this game, the first time I played it was just like, wow, this is an awesome game. It allows me really, I like games that do make me think a little bit, and this one really makes you think, especially in the solo mode. Like, okay, I can kind of start planning out my mode or my moves and stuff, but it really makes me think of like, okay, well, what happens if they do take that or something? And I just really like how, like I said, each kind of place you can place your bee is almost like a mini game in itself. Like, okay, I can go up here and get some tiles, or I can go up here and explore. I can go up here and I can get another bee, or I can expand my mat, or I can upgrade my faction, or it's almost like 6 mini games while you're trying to play this whole big game in one and trying to do a lot of different things. And like I said, I really the worker bumping and the worker power was, I believe this was the first game where I had anything like that. So that was all really unique to me, and it just worked for me in my brain and just how to kind of do everything. So
worker bumping is common in Stonemaier games. I was going to just say worker bumping is common in Stonemaier games. This is my favorite implementation of it, I think. I really, really like how it's done in this. It's nice getting bumped. What was I going to add? I just wanted to talk about the components in the game before we forget. How does everyone feel about them? I know a lot of people drew numbers on the worker bees. I never felt that was necessary. I love the components in this game.
I only play solo, so I didn't have to draw the numbers on them. Personally, I thought the white took away from the kind of, oh, this is like a bee in space sort of thing. It was kind of bright. I mean, that was just my personal feel on the aesthetic of it. I liked the kind of like, it almost looked like it was like rusty and they'd been out there for a while and they were worn and stuff. I always felt like the bright white kind of took away from that. But I also see, like, if you're playing 5 people around a big table, I can see why people did that, because I can see how it's hard to see those numbers at a distance when you're trying to make your turns. But playing solo only, I don't need it. So it was nice to not need that on there.
We play mostly 2 players.
I said I didn't want to get rid of that rustic feel. Yeah.
I like
that rustic feel of them. I mean, I did feel obviously competing with the queen bee.
I was just gonna say that I like that a lot of people painted the queen bee in this. I think that's a sign people have passion for the game when they go above and beyond like that. I think I asked that question in the middle of your question, Carol.
It's nice to have an iconic. No, you're good. No, I was gonna say, I think I agree with you. It's cool to have that iconic component where the fact that they left it gray let people put their own personalities into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something I like about the Stonemaier stuff is everything has like a component that is like, oh, that's that. So I really do like that idea, and that mothership was really cool.
Kind of, I think the last question I have in particular for you, Ian, is we know there's an expansion coming out. Jamie's kind of said it's mostly going to be a more stuff. What are you hoping for? Yeah, like Molly and I can't say much about this one, so
right. Oh, come on. We're all friends here.
We'll go to Stonemaier jail.
I'd like to see some more mats that have maybe some different things. Yeah. Some more hives would be nice that have some different things. Like I said, there's one that focuses on kind of tiles. There's one that focuses on getting more bees. I don't know what it could be. I don't think there's one that does any extra exploring, so it'd be kind of interesting to see if there was one when you place the tile, you got some extra exploring or something. Or what are the other sections? Oh, like some extra converting. Like there's nothing on the mats that does any converting. It's all just resources or building stuff at cheaper costs or moving on the Queen's favor track, it looks like, or seed cards. So maybe some mats that take into account the explore and the converting areas a little bit more would be kind of interesting. I have definitely not gotten. I've played 13 times total since last year, so I definitely have not gotten through all of the different factions. The first time I played, I just played all the easy ones, and then I think even in February when I got it back out, I played just the easy ones because I hadn't played it for a few months. And this time I took those ones out of the shuffle so that I could get more of the factions in since we were going to be talking about it. So yeah, I think, some more hive mats. I'm not sure what else. Maybe, I mean, there's a lot of tiles and a lot of stuff in there, so I don't know what else they would add for more stuff other than maybe some more tiles, maybe some more factions, maybe some more hive mats.
Yeah, I found going because when I first played it last fall, I stayed on the easier factions, and then recently it's been like, oh, I find the advanced factions super interesting, and I wish I had started playing more with those earlier. I think they really add a little bit more of the game and that thinky combos that you can get.
They do. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all my questions. Do you have anything else, Molly?
I briefly, right before we go, thought it could be good to talk about the theme of this game. I think it's a really cool theme. If anyone doesn't know, it was originally submitted to Stonemaier as just a B game, but they wanted to pivot on that a little bit, and they attached the space theme and had it where, like, after humanity died out, bees took over. And I just think it works really well. I can't even imagine it being a regular bee game at this point. I think it's a really unique theme, and the art goes perfectly with it.
Yeah. The art
I agree.
Regular.
Yeah. I agree. I think the space thing probably makes it a lot more interesting than if it was just bees in a hive doing stuff. Like this, I don't know, it makes things a little more interesting, at least for me.
It's another layer on it that I really appreciate.
Yeah.
I think it also lets it branch to different people as well, because some people might be like more attached, like, oh, it's bees, and they love that kind of the nature part there. But let's face it, there's a ton of board gamers who love space. So I think it also branches out and reaches to a wider audience by combining those two.
Yeah, and you're not losing any of the bee stuff. It's just adding. Yeah. It was a good choice.
Yeah, she puts so much research into the bee aspects of it.
So.
Yeah.
That's all I had anyway.
Well, I was saying, as you can see, it's on my wall this month. My theme this month was actually space, so for my showcase wall. So it was on my wall this month. Yep.
Yeah, I just switched it out on mine.
I still moved, so I'm hiding my mess for a little bit more.
Oh yes, the joys of moving. You should have hired the space bees.
I know.
All right. Well, I think, Ian, are there any final thoughts, comments, anything you feel like we didn't cover that you want to talk about in regards to Apiary?
No, I think we covered everything. I said great game. It's a much different worker placement than I have. A lot of the worker placements are worker placement / resource management, where you're getting resources to buy stuff. Whereas this one, like I said, it feels like there's a bunch of mini games in there as to where you place your worker and when you want to place your worker. They're not only where, but when you want to place them. They're like, okay, I have this number. I really want to place it there, but I can't get those tiles. So I'm hoping maybe I can go next turn there or something. And what I want to still be there. So that whole kind of mini game aspect is really fun, because each one does something completely different. It's not just, oh, I get these resources here, or I get a card here, or I get these resources here, like a lot of worker placement games are. So I really, it's a great, mind thing that you got to kind of figure out, like, when do you want to do different things? And you can completely ignore, I guess the other thing is there's so many different ways to score in this game, depending on what you do. There's some games where I barely ever carve in solo mode, and there's some where I've gotten like 3 carvings, and there's some where I think one game last week I explored, I had like 7 or 8 explore tiles, and the AI barely explored. They just weren't going to those spots, or when they did, they landed on spots that were already explored, so they didn't get the tiles. And then there was another game where I had like 3. And so it's just so many different ways to score, so many different things you can do. I just really like all those different options, and you can kind of like, oh, that went away, I don't want to do that anymore. Now I can move over here. Maybe I'll go do this.
All right. Well, Ian, you want to tell people one more time where they can find you on YouTube before we close it out?
Yep, it's where there's a Wills, WILZ, there's a play, and it's at Wills Plays Games on YouTube.
All right.
And we'll link
Thanks
that in the description.
so much for joining us for Apiary.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the expansion to come out.
Well, by the time this goes, it shouldn't be too much longer. We're almost there, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning into the mill. Hope you enjoyed another Stonemaier Spotlight on Apiary.
Yep,
so
thanks,
have
everyone.
a good day. Good night.
See ya.
Bye.